Okay, let's just start with this one image. It's October 2nd, 2025. Keith Urban steps off a private jet in Pennsylvania. Looks pretty normal, you know? Hat, sunglasses.
Standard celebrity travel gear.
Exactly. But every camera flash, every eye, it zooms in on this one detail he just couldn't hide. It was basically the final word, the silent confirmation that this huge Hollywood marriage, one we thought was rock solid, was over?
His left hand.
Bare. No wedding band. After
Gone.
wearing one for 19 years. Just
What?
gone. Welcome to Starscope Report.
Join us as we break down Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and yeah, influencer scandals too.
From red carpet surprises to those viral TikTok things everyone's talking about, we really get into the stories behind the headlines.
And today we are deep diving into the sources surrounding the Kidman-Urban split. And what's fascinating is this wasn't some, sudden messy implosion like you might think.
Not at all. Our material shows this was incredibly meticulous, a really calculated legal and, frankly, public relations decoupling. It started weeks, maybe even months before any official filing.
We've got the timeline that kind of punches holes in that whole blindsided victim story that came out first.
Yeah, and the PR battle, how each side fought for the moral high ground. And then there's the money. That absolutely explosive $11.4 million clause.
Which completely reframes how you look at their entire 19 years together, doesn't it?
It really does. It turns this idea of like unconditional support into something, well, transactional, a liability almost.
So this deep dive, it's really about understanding the strategy, the moves being made behind the scenes way before the headlines hit.
Okay, so Section 1, Anatomy of a Calculated Split. When the news broke, September 30th, Nicole Kidman files for divorce. The immediate story was shock, right? Betrayal. Like the marriage just suddenly blew up.
That was the narrative push, yeah. But when you actually look at the facts, the details in our reports, this thing was practically scheduled.
The signs were definitely there if you knew where to look, like those little celebrity signal flares.
Right. Their last public appearance together, June 20th, 2025. A FIFA Club World Cup match in Nashville. They smiled for the cameras, did the whole thing.
Looked okay on the surface.
But later reports, from people apparently close to them, described the vibe, the body language, as decidedly frosty. So even then, it seems like it was being managed for appearances.
Okay, and then just 5 days later, June 25th, their 19th anniversary, this is where the social media disconnect really hits you.
Yeah, Kidman posts this, really intimate, dedicated tribute. Happy anniversary, baby R. Classic public display of enduring love.
A performance, almost.
You could say that. And Urban's response, or really his lack of response, that speaks volumes about how much distance had probably already grown between them.
He didn't post his own tribute?
Nope. Nothing. He just dropped a single red heart emoji in the comments of her post. That's it.
Wow. For a couple who are always so public about their devotion, the tears, the speeches.
Exactly. That single emoji. In celebrity terms, that's basically like sending a legal separation notice via Instagram comment. It's minimal.
And it turns out they basically were separated. Our sources confirm they had been living apart physically since the beginning of summer.
And not just temporarily. Urban had already bought his own separate permanent place in Nashville.
Okay, so that's not just a rough patch. That's a structural shift. The relationship had fundamentally changed by then.
Absolutely. But the real smoking gun, the thing that proves this was all premeditated, it's the legal paperwork timeline. You got to look at these dates.
Lay it out first.
Okay. Keith Urban signed the permanent parenting plan that's the detailed agreement for their 2 daughters on August 29th, 2025.
August 29th, okay.
Nicole Kidman signed that same detailed custody agreement covering holidays, schooling, everything on September 6th.
September 6th. So, wait a minute. We really need to stress this for you listening. The core divorce terms, the really tough stuff to negotiate, like custody, the financial arrangements, that was all agreed upon, signed off, done deal, 3 to 4 weeks before Kidman officially filed the papers on September 30th.
Exactly. This wasn't a sudden decision leading to a filing. This was a managed process, a scheduled uncoupling, where the actual filing was just the final administrative step, like dotting the I's.
Which means everything that happened publicly after those dates, the stories, the narratives,
was all carefully orchestrated, designed to align with the terms they'd already settled weeks before. Calculated.
Okay, so once the legal side was basically locked down, the fight shifted, didn't it? It became all about public opinion.
Oh, yeah. This is where the celebrity machine kicks into high gear. A full-on strategic battle for that moral high ground. And honestly, Kidman's camp seemed, initially at least, way more aggressive and effective. They immediately grabbed that sympathetic victim narrative. You saw sources leaking consistently that Kidman did not want the separation. She was desperately fighting to save the marriage, felt completely blindsided, very betrayed.
That's powerful stuff for public sympathy. Plays right into expectations.
It's gold. And they humanized her too, remember? Stories about her sister, Antonia, being her rock.
Right.
That frames her not just as some distant superstar, but as a loyal wife, a strong woman being wronged. In the court of public opinion. That gives you a lot of protection from criticism.
So what was the counter from Urban's side?
Their narrative felt, well, defensive, more abstract. His inner circle tried to position the split as this sort of sad inevitability.
It is a...
The usual suspects. Two massive celebrity careers, demanding schedules, not enough time together, intimacy fading, the grind.
The standard Hollywood breakup reasons.
Pretty much. They also floated something a bit more pointed, though. An allegation that Urban felt Kidman wasn't supporting his career enough, especially with her own career taking off again.
That's a harder sell, isn't it, analytically speaking?
It really is. I left because I felt unsupported. That rarely wins against, I was blindsided and betrayed while fighting for us. It just doesn't have the same emotional weight.
So why take the PR hit? Why let that narrative dominate?
Well, that leads to the sort of third, more ominous whisper campaign. The sources also hinted, kind of vaguely, that Urban had been going through some stuff, making questionable choices for some time now.
Vague but loaded.
Exactly. It was just ambiguous enough to let the public fill in the blanks. And
Right.
where did everyone's mind immediately go?
Infidelity rumors, which neatly justifies the whole blindsided victim angle from Kidman's side.
Precisely. It forced Urban's camp onto the back foot in damage control mode right from the start.
Yeah.
And that initial framing was critical for what came next.
Yeah, because his next public move was, well, it was pretty stunning. And it played right into those whispers.
Right into them. As the speculation ramped up, the spotlight landed squarely on Maggie Baugh. She's the 25-year-old multi-instrumentalist who joined his touring band back in 2024.
And the age gap alone, 32 years? That's enough fuel for the tabloids right there. People immediately connected her to those questionable choices.
But Urban didn't just sit back and let people speculate. He basically poured gasoline on the fire himself. Not with a statement, no. On stage.
By changing the lyrics to The Fighter.
Yes. I mean, think about it. That song was arguably their anthem. It was famously inspired by Kidman, by their early struggles, her unwavering support for him. Changing the lyrics wasn't just messing up. It was like publicly rewriting their entire history in front of thousands of people.
What exactly did he change? Remind us.
The core promise. The original line is, when they're trying to get to you, baby, I'll be the fighter. He's saying, when they're trying to get to you, Maggie, I'll be your guitar player.
Wow. Not subtle.
Not at all. And Baugh herself apparently posted a clip of it, captioned something like, did you just say that 8? And look, this wasn't some one-off, maybe heat-of-the-moment thing either. Reports surfaced about earlier shows too, like one on April 1st, where he apparently sang, Maggie, I'll be your fighter.
April 1st, before the split was public, before the legal docs were even signed.
Exactly. It suggests a pattern. Intentionality building up to the divorce. And the public reaction was immediate, wasn't it? People saw it as basically a confession. Trashy, cold, a deliberate insult to Kidman.
I remember seeing Maggie Baugh's father tried to step in on Facebook.
Yeah, Chuck Baugh. Posted something like, no, just no, insisting it was all strictly professional. But, I mean, at that point, the narrative train had left the station. The damage was done.
Strategically, what was he doing there? It seems so counterproductive from a PR standpoint.
It seems that way, but you could also see it as a really profound, really deliberate act of public narrative revision. He was taking his vow, his song about their story, and publicly erasing her from it, replacing her.
It's like saying, this is my truth now.
Exactly. It's almost a form of passive-aggressive communication, maybe. Asserting his side, his independence, maybe speaking his truth, whatever the PR fallout might be. He was taking control of the artistic mythology.
Fascinating public performance. But, okay, let's shift gears from the stage to the cold, hard legal documents, because the strategy there seems just as clear, but maybe less emotional.
Definitely less emotional, much more about control and clean breaks. The legal docs show a very buttoned-up severance.
So first, custody.
Right. Kidman gets designated as the primary residential parent. That means 306 days a year for her, 59 days for Urban, basically every other weekend plus holidays. Pretty standard. But the really crucial part, the power dynamic, lies elsewhere.
Which is?
Kidman got the tie-breaking clause.
Okay, explain why that's such a big deal, the tiebreaker.
It's huge, especially for celebrities managing public image and wanting stability. It means she gets the final decision-making authority on the big stuff. The kids' education, their health, religion.
So if they disagree down the line on, say, where the kids go to school?
She decides. End of story. It prevents future disagreements on major life choices from escalating into public court battles. It gives her unilateral control, ensures consistency, privacy.
Yeah.
It's a major strategic win for her side.
Okay. And financially, what was the setup there?
Also designed for clean break. No ongoing spousal support, no ongoing child support being exchanged month to month.
How does that work with child support?
The documents state Urban has already prepaid all child support obligations. He paid it all off in one lump sum.
Ah, okay. Another clean cut.
Exactly. That lump sum strategy is key. No monthly checks tying them together financially for years and years. Sever those ties immediately. It minimizes future contact, potential conflict, financial entanglement, very common in high net worth divorces, and it reinforces just how calculated this whole split was.
But then there's the clause that everyone talks about, the one detail that just kind of poisons the whole backstory. The famous cocaine clause from their prenup back in 2006.
Yeah, that one landed like a bomb. It was originally put in place, remember, supposedly to incentivize Urban's sobriety early in the marriage.
Right. A protection for the relationship, for his health.
That was the idea. But the sources, they reveal the alleged terms. Urban was entitled to potentially $600,000 for every single year of the marriage that he remained sober and drug-free.
$600,000 a year.
For 19 years of marriage, assuming continuous sobriety, which seems to be the case, you do the math, that's a potential payout of $11.4 million. From Kidman to Urban, upon divorce.
The irony is just staggering. She was the public face of his recovery, right? The story was her unconditional love saved him. And now the very clause meant to protect the marriage, protect him, ends up financially benefiting him massively as the marriage collapses.
It absolutely turns her years of support, emotional, physical, sticking by him into a kind of retroactive contractual liability. It's transactional.
It changes the entire foundation myth of their relationship. It's no longer just about love conquering addiction. It's also about a legal agreement where his sobriety essentially earned him a huge severance package.
Exactly. And the reports indicate Kidman was, understandably, furious, feeling deeply betrayed by how this financial structure played out. It suggests maybe the intent of the clause was never really considered in the context of him potentially initiating a divorce.
It's just a bitter pill. The money meant to secure the marriage becomes the money finalizing its very profitable end for him.
And even after all these details were supposedly settled privately, the public performance of separation continued. It was all about establishing distance, reclaiming individual identity. You saw Urban's behavior shift in the months leading up to the filing.
Like in interviews.
Yeah. Back in July, on Ryan Seacrest's show, he was apparently really tight-lipped, kind of awkward when asked about family stuff. Which was noticeable, right? He was usually pretty open, almost gushing about Kidman.
A definite change in pattern.
Then in early September, remember, this is after he'd already signed the custody plan. He did an Australian radio interview. They asked him if fate brought him and Kidman together. His response was incredibly blunt. Just, you never know. Anyway, moving on. Wow. Just shut down. Yeah, the radio hosts themselves commented on how surprising, how brisk it was, given how we used to talk about her. The verbal distancing was clear.
And this all leads up to that final, very public statement in Hershey, Pennsylvania, right after the divorce announcement.
The final musical statement. He completely dropped the fighter from his set list.
Gone. A song with what, nearly 200 million streams?
Yeah.
A huge hit?
A tour staple, a fan favorite, a song intrinsically linked to his career peak and his marriage narrative.
Yeah.
Just removed. Wiped from the show.
That's the musical equivalent of taking off the ring, isn't it?
It really is.
Okay.
Or shredding the marriage license right there on stage. It's a public declaration. That story, the one that song told, I'm not performing it anymore. It's over. It's the final act of severance, both artistic and personal.
So when you put it all together, the timeline, the PR, the legal maneuvers, the public symbolism, this whole thing, the end of this marriage, it wasn't just tabloid drama.
Not at all. It's like a masterclass, really, in modern celebrity divorce. A blueprint for how you execute a calculated split, where the battle for the narrative, for public perception, is waged just as fiercely, just as strategically as the legal battle itself. And ultimately, that narrative war defines the legacy for both of them moving forward.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought, doesn't it? What actually happens to an artist's brand, to their identity, when their biggest, most defining hits are fundamentally tied to a person, a story, that they then very publicly, very dramatically erase?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the $11.4 million question.
You've been listening to Star Scoop Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.